Wait. Before we move on to the actual race, I want you to take a look at today's contenders and take a wild guess about which car is going to come out on top. Ready? We have the 991.2 generation Porsche 911 GT3 RS on Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 Rs, the 718 Cayman GT4 RS also by Porsche, this time running semi-slicks, the Lexus LFA Nurburgring Edition on slick mediums, the Porsche 992 generation 911 GT3 on Hypercar Trofeos, the Mercedes-Benz AMG GT R on Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s, the Nissan GT R Nismo, the only official car in this race running Hypercar roads, the McLaren 600 LT from 2019 running on semi-slicks, and finally my car, another GT3 RS identical to the first one except this is in green and it's running my custom setup. So who's your money on? Take a quick guess because the race is on. My name is Neil, welcome back to Hot Laps. Great traction of the line allowed me to get past the 600 LT immediately at the start. As I was coming up on the GT-R, it started swerving on the right and I couldn't really avoid contact. Not a huge deal, I still got past the GT-R pairs of the Nissan and the Mercedes as well as the 992 GT3. Going into turn 1, somehow I did manage to outbrake the Lexus LFA. Quite a feat really because it's running on slick tires, the slick mediums. A smooth overtake there and I found myself immediately into P3 now. The only cars in front of me being the AI 911 GT3 RS followed by the 718 Cayman GT4 RS. The AI cars don't really explore track limits that often, which is why I am so much faster than these cars in Sector 1 in particular. The penalty for exceeding track limits was turned on during this race, so you know that everywhere I go, I am actually within the track limits, the official limits allowed by this game. Now, Sector 2 and 3, I am usually at par with the AIs, faster in some corners, slower in some others. But here is an example where I can handily outbrake the AI cars in hard braking zones. Not enough to make a move from that far back, but still. Again, coming up is a corner, the Michael Schumacher S as it's known, where I am much slower than the AI cars as you can see. Well, in my own defense, I didn't really take the corner very well. I didn't use the full track at the entry. But again, in the next corner, I did manage to close the gap quite a bit. Going around turn 11 now to enter this high-speed section, two short straights really joined by the turn 12, which once again is a flat-out corner. Although the 718 Cayman GT4 brakes slightly entering turn 12, which is why you can see me catching up to the car now. I'm braking hard now for turn 13 and 14, and at this point I started to notice that it's not me really. The brakes on the 718 Cayman GT4 RS are weaker than this particular GT3 RS, although both of those cars are on comparable tires. So onto the start finish straight now. The 718 is faster than the GT3 RS on straights, but going into turn 1, once again I did manage to close the gap to the GT4 RS quite a bit, so much that I had to take evasive action to avoid contact. I was looking for a chance to get past the GT4 RS now, and I knew opportunity was going to present itself going into turn 3, but I thought I was too far back. But then again, the stronger brakes. Also, I take a much tighter line around turn 3 than the AI cars. Coming out of turn 4, using the full track limits, I did manage to make the move stick, and up into P2 now. The only car standing between me and an outright win is a fellow 911 GT3 RS. Now on paper, it should be more difficult making such a move on the car in front of me into the braking zones because again, it's identical to my car. Time will tell really, but if you've noticed in the very beginning, as the lights went out, I changed the brake balance of my car quite substantially actually. The default brake balance in this car is 55% to the front, 45% to the rear, which is way too much to the rears and way too little to the front. Because when you brake in any car, most of the weight gets transferred to the front. So you should make sure the brake balance is set accordingly. I did set it to 64% front and 36% to the rear. Gives me quite good braking performance as well as less oversteer going into turns. Although I won't make any progress if I keep making mistakes like that. In 2 consecutive corners, I got distracted and yeah, I went off track slightly and lost a couple of tenths, I'll say. Not a huge amount, but It's still substantial when you're chasing the lead car and when P3 and 4 are so close behind you. They're really keeping up, both the LFA and the 718 Cayman GT4 RS, as you can see in the rear view mirror. Onto the start finish straight now, and the lead car was starting to disappear at this point, but again I was relying on my brakes heavily now to make any move, because well, the Nurburgring GP is not a track I have had a ton of practice in, and yeah, unlike Spa and Imola, tracks like those, I am actually quite novice at this track, I'll say. So sector 1 really is my only strong suit, and I barely managed to keep up with the AI cars in sector 2 and 3, if not get thrashed by them. Lap number 3 now, and it was looking quite good at this point, even through my weak points in sector 2 and 3. And yeah, 2.5 laps to go for me to catch up to the leading car and make a move, really. So pressure's on me. One thing that has to be said about this mod is that it's incredible to drive. It feels natural, and the tires, the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R offered by this mod, is so much better than the tires offered by the 991.1 GT3 RS that's offered officially by the game. That car only comes with hypercar road tires, not even hypercar tracks. Whereas this mod offers so much more. There are 3 options of tires, and all of them perform really well, to the point where you sometimes feel like you've grown this car out of your hands and feet. And yeah, it's that immersive, really. Assetto Corsa in itself is very good in terms of force feedback and sound, and yeah, it all makes driving this car a sheer joy. Also the engine, you know, revving up to 9,000 RPM. In the car world, there really aren't many engines like this naturally aspirated 9,000 RPM redline, a sensational engine at this price range. I mean, yeah, there was the Audi R8 with its sensational V10, 5.2 liter V10, but it's nearing its end of production, and it's likely that Audi won't make another with that engine. Also, the Huracan's future is unpredictable at this point, and all the other engines comparable to this are $1 million at least. Now, going into turn 3 in lap number 4, I did try to make an identical move to the one I made on the 718 GT4. Again, a slight contact, but somehow coming around turn 4, I did manage to make the move work and took the lead now. And I had 1.5 laps left to hold on to that lead and not make too many mistakes. How hard could that be? Well, a few corners in and I was starting to pull ahead of the silver colored AI 911, and yeah, at this point I really had to make a really catastrophic mistake to give up this lead. Well, around the Michael Schumacher S, fortunately this time the corner was not terrible, I'll say. It's not the best, the AI cars usually take it better, but again, it was enough to make me hold on to my lead. Well, nothing happens for quite a while really, so we'll fast forward to the middle of lap 5. Almost a full lap later now, and coming out of turn 6, at this point I stretched my lead from around half a second to almost and slightly over 2 seconds really on the straights. I don't know what went wrong with the AI 911. It's not that slow of a car, not 1.5 seconds slower than me in just a lap. So yeah, something must have gone wrong, or it must have been under pressure from the cars behind it, the GT4 RS and the Lexus LFA. Although from the looks of it, at least in my rearview mirror, it doesn't look like that. It seems that the 718 and the LFA are quite far behind. So yeah, whatever it is. Now the LFA, you might ask, is the only one running on slick tires, so why is it so slow? Well, for starters, it's heavier than these Porsches by around 100 to 200 kilograms, and it has less downforce than these Porsche GT division cars. It is actually on identical tires slower than these cars. The GT-R, as this particular car I'm driving has a Nurburgring lap time of 6 minutes 59, whereas the LFA is 15 seconds slower over a 7-minute lap. So yeah, it checks out. Going around the final corner and across the line to take the win. And to the race results now. We're going to be there for quite a while from the looks of it. Well, here are the race results, and I did manage to eke out a narrow victory over the fellow 911 GT3 RS in the AI one. Now, crucially, this is the 991.2 generation. I've been driving this car for quite a while now. I will try to find the link to this mod. In fact, the same goes for all the cars in this race apart from the GT-R Nismo, the only official car, like I said in the beginning. But apart from that, if I find the links to the other cars, any of those cars, I will provide them in the description. So check those out. All of them are free, no affiliate links whatsoever. So yeah, just go check those out and enjoy. Anyway, the 718 Cayman GT4 RS came third, followed by the Lexus LFA Nurburgring Edition, the only car in this race to run actual slick tires. Now the next two cars, the McLaren 600 LT and the 992 GT3, both of those cars were a lot slower than they are supposed to be, at least compared to the original cars. The GT-R Nismo finished 7th, and that's just alright. In fact, it should have come last, given it's the only car with the hypercar road tires. I don't know what was going on with the Mercedes AMG GT R. It must have had a moment or even a crash in the middle of the race, because it's usually faster than the 600 LT even in my experience. Anyway, it is what it is. Let's look at the lap times now. Here are the lap times, and I did get the fastest lap at 2:05.143. In fact, all the cars in the top 4 had a sub 2 minutes 6 seconds lap time in the fastest lap at least. But take a look at the best lap of the Mercedes at 2 minutes 9.838, which is much faster than the 3 cars in front of it, the 992 GT3, the 600 LT and the Nissan GT-R Nismo. Now crucially, take these results with a pinch of salt, because this is not how the race will come out to be if the actual cars were to race. Can't help it really, this is how sim racing is. And that said, that's it for today. Let me know your thoughts about this video down in the comment box below. Also, if you have any favorite car or track that you want me to feature in a future video, let me know about those as well, and I shall try to cover them. While you're down there, hit like if you liked it, share if you loved it. The GT3 RS also has a racing cousin that actually competes in the FIA GT3 class. I'm talking about the 911 GT3R. I have done a race in that car against all the GT3 cars that Assetto Corsa offers by default. If you fancy seeing that video, it's right here. I'll see you there. Until then, drive hard, drive safe. Take care.